Hello, in this session I'm going to provide an overview of the technology goal. So when you decide to do a technology goal or you plan on doing a technology project with a digital learning specialist in your building, you will be shared a folder called the technology goal folder. So in your Google Drive under shared with me on the left side here, you're going to select technology goal folder. And a folder should pop up that looks just like this one, technology goal folder, and you're going to want to go ahead and double click on that and open it up. When you double click and open it up, you're going to find some other folders. There's going to be a red folder here called technology goal handouts materials, a middle school digital learning lessons, high school digital learning lessons, and an elementary digital learning lessons. So the contents of these three folders right here are that they contain lessons that digital learning specialists are working on with that particular school in collaborative lesson planning at all the different elementaries, the middle school, and the high school, using a template that I'll show you in just a moment. So I'm going to click back on Technology Goal folder, and I'm going to click down here on Technology Goal handouts and materials. So inside here, I have a few items. The most important item here is the technology goal check-in document. You'll also notice that there's the DLCS framework of standards, a digital learning rubric guide and topics, and also a blank digital learning lesson plan that you can make a copy of and use for your own use. Underneath technology goal check-in, we're going to go ahead and click on that. And it's going to bring up a document. And this document provides an overview of the resources and also the year-by-year use of the technology goal to set some goals for working with digital learning specialists and technology in your building. So the very first items that you should review in here are the Massachusetts DLCS standards right here, which I've linked to that document, but I've also put it in the folder. The Google North Reading Teacher Pre-Assessment, which is a Google form assessment. I would highly recommend doing this in your very first session when working with a digital learning specialist, or doing it on your own and seeing how it goes. Some of the questions can kind of take some time to fill out, but it's important that you kind of you do this assessment so that you can kind of figure on your growth and see where you're starting with this process. Over here in Classroom Curriculum Tools, there's a digital learning lesson plan template. I'm going to go ahead and click on that so we can take a look at that. This is the blank digital learning lesson plan. This is the version you can make a copy. So when you go to use this, you want to go File, Make a Copy, and then add your name to this name right here so you have your own, and maybe save it in your own folder for now. But it's an opportunity to kind of have your own copy of this template. So the way this template's set up is there's a top that's green and there's a bottom that's still white. So if you'll notice with many of the topics that are in green, they are lesson plan components that you'll see in your very traditional lesson. The subject areas, the grade level, duration, topics, essential questions, lesson goals and objectives, curriculum standards. And this is an area that a classroom teacher can fill out prior to even meeting with a digital learning specialist with a lesson that they think they'd like to add more technology to, or have a digital learning specialist support them with in a different way. Then when they get the opportunity to work with a digital learning specialist, they can then work on adding these other areas and having some support and guidance in those areas, such as technology standards, digital learning vocabulary, other materials and resources and hardware that might be important to getting the lesson completed. Is there a digital or online curriculum that we're using here in the lesson? How is it differentiated with technology? How are you using data-driven decision-making with understanding the student learning? And what are some of the student prerequisites with understanding the use of the technology? How does the lesson start? And what are some of the sequences of activities using the technology with the student? There's also a question about evaluation. How well will you, how are you going to assess the extent to which students have understood the goals and objectives of the lesson? And it brings up the topic of the rubric. And I included a note here, rubric should address the technology, skills, and knowledges. So let me show you a little bit more about this. But before we leave this document, I highlight this is a lesson plan that should be worked on collaboratively with classroom teacher and the digital learning specialist to kind of embed technology into existing lessons or a new lesson that a teacher would like to work on. And the green part is really where the teacher can kind of begin the process and then collaboratively work with the other pieces. And I'm going to click back to the check-in form. So our next link is actually the rubric development that we're talking about, the assessment. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. On the Digital Learning Rubrics Guide and Topics, this is a guide to really help you select 2 other content areas in which to assess students. So this works under the assumption that you have 4 or 5 areas in your existing rubrics in which you're trying to address student understanding during the lesson. And once you have that, you can then look here to find 2 other areas to then look at how are students using the technology or using the tools or improving their ability to use the tools. So it's really not only a lesson that challenges the student in terms of the content, but we're also looking at how well the students are using the technology in teaching and learning. So there's the application, digital learning tools and applications, how well they may be using a particular application, curriculum and assessment tools, self-advocacy, independence, troubleshooting, how well are they working their way through the navigation of tools, self-pacing and adjusting to feedback, collaboration and communication with digital tools, how is the lesson becoming more personalized, is there center work, sharing a common language with the students that are improving their understanding of the technology, or critical thinking with digital tools. Tools that really drive the student to use more analysis or synthesis of their learning using the tools and a self-assessment. Or creation with digital tools. This is more of the actual creating a final product outcomes, very specific, authentic outcomes. So these are areas that are, by just selecting 2 of these areas, you're really looking at how the students are either using the technology or applying themselves to the use of a tool. And you'd like to select 2 of these areas with your existing lesson to kind of adapt that lesson to address some of those technology needs. And I recommend that you go through here and you think, what types of tools are they using? How do I expect the students to really be, interacting with the technology, with the content? And that's really what's driving the development of these rubric selection. Now back on our doc, we have web-based tools to measure student learning. So part of this process is also beginning to learn how we measure student learning with digital tools, and many of you are already doing that with the use of Google Forms, Socrative, Kahoot. Using these either in informative assessments or summative assessments with students to kind of see where they're at. And as part of this process as well is to measure the student learning with the tools. I've added 2 other links here, personalized and blended learning strategies, really to kind of get you guys thinking about what personalized learning is and how it's maybe already happening in some of your classrooms and how it can be better supported with the use of technology. And I provided, a blend from the inacol.org organization, the definition of what is personalized learning. And I think that's a great article to kind of get started with, to kind of get you thinking about, better understanding the topic. And we'll have more about that as we continue on in the coming years, definitely. Then there's a technology integration matrix. So I think this is a very handy tool. It's a tool that has a great amount of resources that allow you to evaluate how you're using technology in the classroom. So the link that I've added here to get started with is a grade level index of technology integration. So what you'll see is all K2, 3.5, 6.8, 9.12. So I'll go to 3.5. So in 3.5, you'll see different lessons, all sorts of different types of technology and also standards addressed. And I'll click on plotting decimals on a number line. And what this will do is it will provide me with a video of the sample lesson. It will provide me with the goal-directed level of adoption of the technology, the objectives, the procedure, what type of technology is present in the class, grade level, and will also give me some of the different types of standards according to goal-directed, authentic, constructive, collaborative, or active learning. and it gives us where it ranks on a grid here. So let me give you a picture of the grid. So after you find a lesson that you might want to look at and see how technology was adapted, you can look at the complete matrix. And we look at this is called the TIM matrix, and it's a great tool to kind of dig down into it. But what it does is it measures integration technology. Is it entry, adoption, adaptation, infusion, transformation, and then how is it being done? Is it collaborative, active, constructive, authentic, or goal-directed? And what this does is it's not really saying you're doing something right or wrong, but what it's doing is it's asking you to say, how are you doing it? In what ways are you doing it? Am I integrating technology in a collaborative way that asks them to adopt the tools in a conventional way? If I click on this collaborative learning adoption model, it gives me several descriptors about that type of learning, and also a few examples of what that looks like. And it gives you some slides that talk more about it, some text. It's this is a tool that really, I think, is very supportive around getting you to think more about how you're using technology in the classroom. A very powerful tool. So something to just kind of poke into, and it's great for ideas. Now let's move down. So in year 1, using standard, this is the professional practice goal planned activities for year 1. Using standard-based digital learning rubrics developed as part of this goal, students are identified in September 2017 will grow 1 full point of the digital learning rubric that is appropriate to my grade and subject area by the end of the 2017-18 school year. This process will be developed and piloted in 2016-17 and implemented in 2017-18. So what you'll see as part of this is reviewing the standards like we talked about, participating in 6 to 8 collaborative meetings over the 2 years, consulting with the digital learning specialist for 4 to 6 classroom sessions using the rubrics, 1 in the pilot year, 2 in the implementation year, calibrate scoring with others using the rubrics pilot year 1, implement year 2, analysis student growth based upon student data and experiences. In year 2, in order to improve my understanding and implementation of Google Apps for Education, to enhance student collaboration, increase online communication, and improve technology integration, I will, by the end of the year, participate in at least 4 to 6 sessions of the TechBuzz series and collaborate with digital learning specialists at least 4 to 6 times and create a portfolio of my growth using Google Apps for Education as part of the TechBuzz series. So this includes completing the GAF assessment, which I put up at the top, completing the final parts of it, participating in the sessions, consulting with the DLS again for the 4 to 6 classroom lessons, creating a lesson plan product portfolio at the end of the year, complete the GAF self-assessment at the end of the cycle, and provide a reflection based on self-assessment data and experiences. So, over 2 years, you will not only begin to work and collaborate with the digital learning specialists around these new goals, you'll also be implementing new tools to teach with, you'll assess student learning with these tools, and you'll also be developing a lesson and a rubric in which you're assessing things digitally and finding progress benchmarks for students. You're also becoming introduced to personalized and blended learning strategies and using the technology matrix as a guide for a better understanding how technology can be used in the classroom. This is a great opportunity for you to get started with integrating technology in the classroom in a practical lesson plan with a rubric and a reflection. And please don't hesitate to email me or call me with any questions you might have. Thank you.